Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling a topic that affects millions of people, a silent crisis that's shaping the future of entire generations: student debt. You've probably heard the staggering numbers thrown around, but what do they actually mean for real people? How did we get here? And more importantly, is there a way out? Stick around, because we're going to break it all down. Let's start with the big picture. Right now, in the United States alone, student loan debt has surpassed $1.7 trillion. That's trillion with a T. It's more than the nation's credit card debt and auto loan debt combined. Over 45 million Americans are carrying some form of student debt. The average borrower owes around $37,000. But these are just numbers on a screen. The reality is that behind each of these numbers is a person, a story, a dream that might feel like it's on hold. So, how did we end up in this mess? It wasn't an overnight disaster. It was a slow burn, a perfect storm of several factors. Decades ago, a college education was much more affordable. State funding for public universities was significantly higher, which kept tuition costs low. A student could often work a part-time summer job and pay for a full year of school. Imagine that. But starting in the late 20th century, things began to change. State governments started cutting funding for higher education. To make up for the shortfall, universities had to raise tuition. And they didn't just raise it a little, they raised it a lot. Since the 1980s, the cost of college tuition has skyrocketed, increasing at a rate far beyond inflation and wage growth. At the same time, federal policy shifted. The government began to play a much larger role in student lending, making it easier than ever for students to get loans. On the surface, this seemed like a good thing, right? It was meant to increase access to education for everyone, regardless of their family's income. The idea was that a college degree was a golden ticket to a better life and a higher salary, so taking on debt to get one was a smart investment. But there was a catch. These federal loans are incredibly difficult to discharge, even in bankruptcy. This gave lenders, including the government itself, a huge safety net. There was very little risk for them. So, as universities kept raising prices, the loan money kept flowing, creating a cycle where tuition could rise with virtually no limit, because students could always just borrow more. This easy access to loan money essentially enabled the tuition hikes. Now, let's talk about the human cost of this crisis. It's not just about making a monthly payment. Student debt is fundamentally altering people's lives. For many, it means putting off major life milestones. Young people are delaying buying homes, getting married, and starting families because a huge chunk of their income is already spoken for. That dream of homeownership? For many graduates, it feels like a fantasy when they staring down a monthly loan payment that's as high as a mortgage. It also impacts career choices. Instead of pursuing a passion or taking a job in a vital but lower-paying field like teaching or social work, many graduates feel forced to chase the highest possible salary just to manage their debt. This creates a brain drain from crucial sectors of our society and can lead to a sense of deep dissatisfaction and burnout. The pressure is immense. You've just spent years studying for a specific career, only to realize you can't afford to actually do it. And the mental health toll is enormous. The constant stress and anxiety of carrying tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt can be debilitating. It's a weight that follows you everywhere. Many borrowers report feeling shame, hopelessness, and isolation. It's a heavy burden to carry, especially when you feel like you did everything you were supposed to do. You studied hard, you got into college, and now you're being punished for it. So, what's being done about it? Well, the conversation is definitely heating up. There are a few major proposals on the table. One of the most talked about ideas is widespread loan forgiveness. Proponents argue that forgiving a significant amount of student debt, say $10,000 or even $50,000 per borrower, would act as a massive economic stimulus. Freed from their loan payments, millions of people would suddenly have more money to spend, save, and invest, which could boost the entire economy. It would also be a lifeline for those struggling the most. Of course, there are arguments against it. Critics worry about the cost to taxpayers and question the fairness of forgiving debt for some, but not others. What about the people who worked multiple jobs to pay off their loans, or those who chose not to go to college to avoid debt? These are valid questions, and they highlight the complexity of the issue. Another set of solutions focuses on the future, aiming to prevent the next generation from falling into the same trap. This includes ideas like tuition-free public college. Several countries around the world already offer this, and the argument is that treating higher education as a public good, like K-12 schooling, benefits society as a whole. A more educated populace leads to innovation, a stronger workforce, and a more engaged citizenry. There are also calls to reform the lending system itself. This could involve lowering interest rates on all federal student loans. Some are currently set at rates much higher than a mortgage, and restoring the ability to discharge student debt in bankruptcy. Making the system fairer and providing a safety net for those who genuinely cannot repay would be a significant step forward. We could also see an expansion of income-driven repayment plans. These plans cap a borrower's monthly payment at a percentage of their discretionary income. While they already exist, they can be complicated to navigate, and some plans can lead to a ballooning loan balance over time due to interest. Simplifying these plans and making them more generous could provide real relief. But let's be real, none of these solutions are a magic bullet. The student debt crisis is a deeply entrenched problem with many interconnected parts. Fixing it will require a bold, multifaceted approach that addresses both the existing mountain of debt and the underlying causes of runaway tuition costs. It's not just a financial issue, it's a social and moral one. It forces us to ask, what do we value as a society? Is higher education a consumer product for the wealthy? Or is it a fundamental right and a public good that should be accessible to all who are willing to work for it? The answer to that question will define the future for millions of young people. This isn't just about spreadsheets and policy papers. It's about the hopes and dreams of an entire generation. It's about whether we want a society where people are free to pursue their passions and build a life, or one where they are shackled to debt before they even get started. The path we choose will have consequences for decades to come. Thank you so much for watching and for engaging with this important topic. What are your thoughts? Have you been affected by student debt? What solutions do you think would work best? Let me know in the comments below. Let's get a real conversation going. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the issues that shape our world. See you in the next one.